Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
Well, welcome on this summer solstice weekend. Here we are in the middle of June, and Pride is right around the corner. And I know when I talked to Jeff about a topic for today, we talked about 7 secrets to connect more deeply with others, which I'm going to weave within this talk. But also, it is a pre-recorded event I did here last year, so it's also available on their YouTube channel, so you have access to it. But more importantly, what I wanted to share with you today is the importance of our journey within ourselves, our relationship to ourselves, and our relationship with the world around us. The world is becoming more divided. People are not only dividing from each other through the judgments, through the labels, through the roles, and we forget the essential nature of who we truly are and are the source from which we came. And it seems to be becoming a greater divide. But not only that, people are separating in their communities, they're separating from their neighbors, and they're separating from themselves. And our spiritual journey, our purpose as a spiritual being and being awake and conscious, as all of you are here, is to remember and to realign with the truth of who you are. That's the ultimate goal of any religion. Re means to return to. Religious is alignment with self. Not with rules and regulations, not with a spiritual practice that you have to do or else feel guilty, but with yourself. And that's the capital S, not just the little s. We all know that our ego self, the little s, right? Our personality, who we've become. In so many ways, how the world has crafted us into our personality. It's called the limited self. And it's part of us, and it's an important part. But the capital S, the true self, our soul and spirit, is the eternal part. It's the one that functions with character and principles, that knows inherently what is good and true and right. Little children know inherently. Now they need to be told and conditioned because their ego is wild, but deep down they know what's good. And there was once I read a book that said, in order to know something good, you must have something bad. I'm like, I don't remember eating a sour ice cream cone in order to appreciate an ice cream cone when I was a kid. I remembered, I like this, it tasted good, right? We are much more wise than we give ourselves credit for. But our journey begins, in every lifetime, becomes a journey of separation and forgetting. Separating and forgetting who you are. So that one day you would make a choice and so many ways create contrast of what you don't want in life, so that one day you can choose to clearly define what you truly want in alignment with your soul essence, with your spiritual power and strength. And that usually becomes a midlife crisis in many people's lives, where they followed all the rules, what they were told from the time they were little. They got the car, they got the job, went to school, they had kids, and they wake up and they're like, I followed all the rules, why do I feel so empty inside? So disconnected from soul. And so we all want to build community, we all want to build connection, but it begins with connecting with our true desire and honoring who we are. And then that journey of separating and forgetting is a wake-up call generally, where people get the rug pulled out from underneath them in a way, or they have a new opportunity to connect more deeply with themselves. And then the journey becomes a journey of remembering and reuniting with who you truly are. And that's where the empowered journey begins. And each of us have that choice. Who am I going to be today? Am I going to be the product of my past? Am I going to be the conditioning, the personality, the ego that has identified with what it's done and what it has? And am I going to forget who I am? What does that mean? I've talked to people in different places and throughout my different experiences of working with clients one-on-one through the last 35 years. But more importantly, what people recognize is they identify with what their ego has experienced. Oh, Michaiel, I know who I am. I'm an alcoholic, codependent, schizophrenic, bipolar. I'm like, no, you're not. Those are things you might have experienced. Yes, you might have a sensitivity to alcohol. These might be conditions, but give yourself some credit. Expand beyond that as this amazing and beautiful spiritual being. Because when we begin to reunite with our true self, the capital S, it takes the sharp edge off of loneliness. It doesn't eliminate it, because we're human. We have a human nature, and we have an ego that feels separate. And we also have a part of us that feels the connection, the oneness. Why you come to these groups, why you hang out in different communities, and why you meditate and pray and the different things you do is it helps you to reestablish the truth of who you are and remembering the connection. But one thing I find is interesting that has helped me on my journey is my relationship to the divine as I perceive it outside of time and space. There's just the oneness of all that is pure love that does know nothing else but love. And in its journey of wanting to know itself, it divided into duality, into the world of duality where the one becomes two in the form of God, Goddess that creates all that is. And in that relationship with God, Goddess, the Goddess energy creates the vibration and frequency that is soul. And that soul is filled with the light of spirit, coming directly from God, masculine energy, feminine energy. And part of the gay Buddhist fellowship is, why was I born gay? Why was I born different? Why am I embodying a different desire than my sexual nature indicates, or my sexual being indicates? Often we came here to set a new standard in consciousness to help the world remember we're not just our gender. That's the form, that's the illusion, but we are this consciousness of both masculine and feminine. And when we bring these two together, they give birth to wholeness, where the oneness above becomes wholeness within me. What does that mean, to bring the masculine and feminine together? To bring your imagination, which is feminine, in alignment with your willpower. Will is masculine, imagination is feminine. Feelings are feminine, thinking is masculine. To bring them together instead of saying, well, I'm going to think about everything to distract myself from my feelings. I'm going to think about everything to avoid my feelings. See, that's a disconnect of self. But when I can think about what am I feeling, even the pain, even the loneliness, even the discomfort, it's not comfortable, but it's not negative. It's honest and real. And so bringing these together, creativity is feminine, productivity is masculine. You know, people with a lot of creative ideas, and they think about all these things, and they have it all up in their head, but they don't produce anything. They don't take action. That's masculine, to bring it into harmony and balance. So when we bring our thoughts and feelings together, when we bring our imagination and will, we become more whole, and then we create a sense of wholeness that produces personal peace, inner strength, and a clarity of who you truly are. Yes, you are a spiritual being, and you are a human being, and one is not greater than the other in this point in time. You chose to be physical for a reason. And God, Goddess, all that is, created all that is. And it's my relationship to life that's my spirituality. It's not something I do once a week. It's not something I just go up to the mountains to get away from this awful, horrible world so that I can finally have some spiritual time to myself. We began our quest as a humanity. Where did we first discover divinity? In our concept as very prehistoric almost, very ancient civilizations, where did we discover the divine? It was in the earth. It was what provided us with everything, the food, the water, everything we needed. So it was Mother Earth. It was the pagan religions, the goddess energy, the original energy that gave birth to God, because she wanted to work together. And it's that God is in the earth beneath me. And then years and we evolve and philosophies come along, and then Christianity says, no, not this ugly, horrible world. No. God is above us. Sin is in the world, right? God is above us now, looking down and judging our genitals most of the time to see what we're up to with them, according to many religions out there. Religions made in the likeness and image of man, not in the likeness and image of the divine. But then we decided, people started waking up in this 50s and 60s and 70s, and they started saying, no, God, Goddess is within me. No, it's not below me, it's not above me, it's within me. And that was a big revelation, and that is true. All three of them are true. God, Goddess is within the earth, the mineral, the plant, the animal. It's within the universe and heavens and beyond. And it's within you and within everyone else. So my spirituality is my relationship with life. Is it one of fear and control and domination? Or is it one of love and openness and recognizing the capital S within everyone that you come in contact with? That's what the world needs, is a collective remembrance. Not let's divide and judge and create a hierarchy of who's acceptable and who's replaceable. But we have to begin within our own consciousness, within our own world. I'm not saying we're going to change the world overnight, but change your personal world. And if you're feeling isolated and lonely and disconnected, begin with yourself. It always begins with ourselves. It's not about where do I go to the right places and where do I find the right like-minded people. That will happen naturally when you get in alignment with what you want and know what you want and choose to connect rather than put up walls. And so much of the walls that I've discovered in my working with clients and in my gay men's discussion group that I've been doing here for many years is that they have a wall of unworthiness because of our ego's identity. And when you can discover the true identity of your soul, you can realize you're inherently valuable. God, Goddess, all that is, doesn't make junk. And you are unique, and you're an asset to the world. To feel that, instead of going out to what can I get from people, what can I give? That's when the healing takes place. So, yes, God is below us, above us, within us, and more importantly, more correctly, we are within the divine. We are a cell in the body of consciousness called divinity. And am I going to become a cancerous cell? It's my free will choice to be in harmony or to turn my back. And that's the path we all were on. We all created a world of separation and isolation and felt that turning our back, and it didn't, Goddess didn't turn their back on us. We did, thinking this is who I am, and we believed the lie of our childhood and our upbringing, and we identified with limited labels that defined who we are. And to shed those and to open up and to embrace the truth shall set you free. But the truth. And I'm not here to tell anybody what to think and feel. I'm here to help you to remember who you are. And when you feel that and get that, magic happens. And today, if I can just expand your consciousness just a fraction in one little idea or area, whether it's around connecting with other people, with yourself, with your bigger purpose in life, whatever it is, just that little fraction. The thing about expanding consciousness is you can't go backwards. Once you know, you know. Once we discovered that the world wasn't flat, it's really hard to convince yourself that it is today, isn't it? You have free will choice, you can do it. But it's really challenging. So where does isolation live? You ever thought about that? Beyond the prison's isolation chamber, if you get thrown into prison, there is a real place called an isolation chamber. But beyond that, where does it live? In our mind. And nothing changes until we change our mind. The mind is the bridge between the soul and spirit, body, mind, spirit. I call it soul and spirit. I don't want to eliminate the soul because that's what we've done as a collective. Eliminate, diminish the feminine. Unfortunately, that's the imbalance in so much of our world. But body, mind, soul, and spirit, that's the life force energy. It's your electromagnetic life force that flows through the mind that either gets expanded or diminished by the state of mind that eventually makes it to your body and creates well-being or illness, creates harmony or pain. So that flow of electromagnetic energy can be expanded as you shift and open up your mind. And that's where isolation exists. We isolate. We talk ourselves out of it. I could go out and connect with some people at this event or this thing, and what if I get rejected? What if I don't like anybody? What if nobody's there? What if there's nobody cute to date? Whatever it is that your excuse is, your ego, to separate you from connecting with people. Tomorrow night I'm speaking at Manny's on Silver Pride, dating and relating after 50. And it's going to be an interesting topic. I've never talked specifically about that. But the interesting thing is people want to find the one and only to make my life complete. And I'm going to ignore all these neighbors and people and friends and the coffee shop and everywhere I go. I'm going to discard God, Goddess, all that is this all around me just to find the one that I'm attracted to and have sex with. That's going to be a lonely path and a frustrating one. But if you can open up and start to build community and realize that the divine is all around you. And yes, everybody has an ego, which is the easing grace out of our lives. It's the part of us that doesn't appear to be divine in many ways. But when you can open up and connect with your soul and spirit and bring that light along with your ego. You can't get rid of your ego. You have to have an ego. But you can realize I'm isolating myself. And I want to connect with my community. And it's all around me. Especially living here in San Francisco. Do you know how blessed we are for the groups that are here to get involved with and the people here, the diversity. You know, we're not in Idaho somewhere in the middle of a town that only has 250 people. It's all around, but yet it's an epidemic here of people feeling so alone and isolated. It's a state of consciousness, and until you shift your state of consciousness, which I'm going to talk about how to do in a minute, then you can start to realize I'm not going to just put all my eggs in one basket of finding somebody who's going to make my life work, make myself happy, and end my loneliness and end my isolation. That's a lot of pressure to put on one person, isn't it? I wouldn't want to be that recipient. But instead, to connect with community, to meet new people. You know, one of the interesting things, what's some of your favorite talk shows, or not talk shows, I'm sorry, favorite sitcoms? Have you ever noticed the sitcom characters? Why they're so popular are the ones that every character is uniquely themselves and they don't apologize and they get along with each other and they support their differences. In the TV series Friends, Rachel wasn't trying to be Phoebe and Phoebe wasn't trying to be Joey and Joey wasn't trying to be Monica. They all respected each other's what? Differences. I was listening to one of my favorite movies from the 80s called Resurrection, Ellen Burstyn. And there's one line her grandmother says. She said, I expect if we could just love each other the way we say we love him, meaning Jesus, there wouldn't be the bother we have in the world. Isn't that true? We don't see the divinity all around us. Instead, we're elevating people and not embracing the love that's right in front of us. And that's what it begins to shift your relationship with community and connection. How do you do that? If you go out, well, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. So it's not about going out and finding another place. It's about changing your energy. A lot of people go out because I'm lonely and I'm bored and I'm desperate and I'm horny and I'm whatever it is, right? You go out. I want to find somebody to take that away from me. How often do you go out to find somebody who's sad and lonely and depressed so you can turn their life around? How many times is that your goal when you leave the house? That energy is broadcasting. And when you can say, let me lift my frequency, let me do something that gets me into a good feeling mood, that's what's going to make a difference. That's what's going to make a difference. And I can be myself. I don't have to give up myself to fit into this clique or this group. If I don't honor myself and value myself, no one else will. And so we reject ourselves oftentimes. And the thing about building community is that we were all thrown into one as a young child, right? We didn't have to think about building community. We had parents, we had siblings, some of us, we had neighbors, we had schoolmates. We were thrust into people that we had to try to figure out how to communicate with and connect with. But then as we grow older, and for myself, in the last 5 years, I've lost my mother, my father, my brother, and 2 best friends. That's a lot of grief. And the last 2 were recently, this past year. And we don't realize, this is something I never considered or really thought about, maybe because when I was growing up with the AIDS pandemic, there was a lot of death going on. But it was different then because I was drinking and celebrating and partying and stuff. I didn't let it in, unfortunately. So now I feel like it's come to a head and I've been working through a lot of grief. Not easily. But one of the things that it teaches us is there's 2 ways to appreciate someone in our lives. Through gratitude or regret. And when somebody moves on, or the relationship breaks up, or somebody dies, you often think of, I wish I would have told them. I wish I would have said. And we don't value and appreciate often until we can do that. With our heart closed, we end up in regret. With our heart open, we can communicate and share how much people matter to us. And I encourage all of you to think of those people who are pivotal in your life, who are still around, maybe you've lost contact with, to reach out to them, to email them, to let them know how much of an influence they've had. I don't know how we are on time. I can tend to go.
Fine.
Okay, a few more minutes.
About another half hour.
Oh wow. Okay, cool. Talking fast. One of my dear friends, Tom, he lived in Fort Lauderdale, and he'd been on my mind. I got back from a big trip in December. In January, was going to the celebration of life of my other friend who passed in Florida, and then it was middle of February, early February, that Tom just kept popping into my mind. We hadn't chatted since we texted each other on New Year's Eve, Happy New Year's. So finally I texted him and said, hey Tommy, how's it going? It's been a while, let's connect. And he goes, not well, I'm in the hospital. And I've been here since, I think it was January 5th. And this is like middle of February. I'm like, what the heck? So I picked up the phone, we started chatting. And I did not know this. I knew he had heart problems over the years, but his heart was shutting down. They were going to try to get a transplant. That didn't work out because his kidney started shutting down, and he was shutting down. He said, Michaiel, and he's very spiritual. We met when I was 25, not that long ago. But we met in Fort Lauderdale. We became friends, and he taught me so much, and he's such a beautiful soul. And I told him that on the phone that day, because he said, I'm in palliative care. He goes, I'm ready to move on. I'm tired of this craziness in this world. He goes, I'm too tired to fight. I'm ready to move on. I said, I get it. I said, I really get it. We talked about the elephant in the room, about him transitioning. And it was one of the most poignantly beautiful, sad conversations I've ever had. I don't know if it's weird to put beautiful in with sad, but it was real. And we talked about it, and I told him how much he mattered and how he changed my life. And I told him about every time I'd come visit him, how people would light up when he would walk into the room. We'd go out to a restaurant. He was so loved by his community. And we had this amazing talk. Short, because he was out of breath. He couldn't talk long, but short, but powerful. And I expressed exactly how I felt. That was on Thursday. Saturday, I went to a friend's birthday party up in Twin Peaks. And I'm up there and having, drinks, and a lot of people I didn't know. They were his friends and I had not met before. But I was talking to this one gentleman, and he asked me where I was from, and I said I was from Florida. And he goes, oh, I love Fort Lauderdale. The minute he said it down, I thought, oh my God, Tom's passed. And before we hung up, by the way, Tom had said, I'll send you a message. I'll send you a sign. And he said, I'll save you a good space on the other side for when you come over. It was such a beautiful conversation. But then I'm in this party, and I just get this download. I'm like, oh my God. I looked at the time. It was like almost 9 o'clock at night. East Coast, that's almost midnight. So I just went to the bathroom, regrouped, and went back out and thought I'll deal with it tomorrow. The next day, I was resistant. I didn't want to know for sure. You ever had that? Like I procrastinated reaching out or calling or doing anything until it was like late in the afternoon, because I was like, do I really want to know this? Yet I did know it. My soul knew it. But I did reach out. And he never texted me back Monday morning. By Sunday afternoon, I texted him. He never responded back. So Monday, I get onto his Facebook page. Sure enough, he passed Saturday evening. And there was all these, and his partner, Cruz, who we never got along. I'll be quite honest with you. I don't know what, I think he was kind of a little jealous of Tom and I's connection, but we never really bonded. But when I went to his Facebook page, I didn't even know how to reach out to him. I didn't have his phone number, but there was an instant messenger with Cruz's name there, and I clicked and I said, I'm so sorry to hear about Tom's passing. 30 seconds later, my phone rings on instant messenger, and it's Cruz, and he was sobbing and in tears, and he's like, I couldn't understand half of what he was saying because it was just so broken down, but I was just listening and holding space. And then I said to him, I said, I told Tom how loved he was and how much he mattered and to the community. And he was sobbing. He goes, I know. He goes, I was in the room and he was on speakerphone. And I'm like, so he heard our conversation. That's probably why he reached out to me, because before we never had much conversation. But he saw the beauty and love of connection. And it's been really challenging for me. But don't let regret be your form of appreciation after it's too late to do what you wish you could have done. Start opening your heart, reach out, let people know. That's how you begin to build community. So you want to lift your vibration, you want to feel good. It's like you're hitting those flowers. You want to feel good, you want to lift your vibration before you go out and engage with other people. And you want to do that in a way that is with an intention. Why am I going out? To end my loneliness, to be less alone, to not stop watching Netflix, whatever. But how about to connect and to get to know somebody or to say hello to a few people? And before you even do that, I highly recommend, you're walking around the streets. Coming here today, I walked by 4 or 5 people. And I'll never forget this cross guard. Maybe some of you knew her. She was at 16th and where's the school right there? Dolores. And every morning I used to commute to go to the East Bay, and I'd walk down, and she's this little Asian girl. She wasn't that old. She was probably in her 30s, I would say. But every morning I'd walk by, she'd go, "Good morning, how are you? Have a good weekend." And she always said something, and I've never forgotten her. I don't know her name. I'd always reciprocate. We'd talk back and forth. After 3 or 4 years, I stopped that job, and I don't get up that early in the morning anymore. But I haven't seen her, but I assume she's still not there. But some of you might have known her. And she was a beautiful soul. And we never exchanged anything, but she spread the love and recognized me, and we acknowledged each other. And that's what love does. Were we going to build and become best friends? No. But can we bring light into the world? Can we start connecting with community? Could that be your spiritual practice? To make eye contact. If you don't feel comfortable saying anything, just acknowledge their presence and nod and smile. The minute you smile, your heart opens. That's part of the heart chakra triggers, smiling. And just acknowledge people. And you'll feel less lonely. You don't have to find the one and only. And then as you do this, guess what? You're going to increase your ability to find the, quote, one and only. Because you're going to connect with community, and you're going to start meeting new people. You're going to start to appreciate difference and let go of the criticism and become more curious about people who are different. And you can build your community. No one's going to do it for you. They did it for you when you were a child, and now it's up to you to do it for yourself. And it's like, where do I go? What do I do? There's lots of opportunities. And what may work for you may not work for you or work for you. So it's about cultivating a way to find like-minded people in your community. Join that tennis club if you're into tennis. Go to a pottery class if you're into that. Go around like-minded people, because it'll increase your chances of connection. You already have something in common. But remember, what we all have in common is we are all expressions of God. God is all that is. Seeking and searching to come home. And we're here to help each other on that journey coming home. That's what we're here to do. And the more we do that, like I said, it doesn't eliminate loneliness, but it takes the sharp edge off of it. And then it also puts you in the right place at the right time to meet not only like-minded new friends, but new people that can become part of your community. And then perhaps the one and only, as whipped cream on the top, cherry on the top. Any questions? I guess, are we about ready for questions? Or I don't know how we are on time. I can continue talking for all day, but I want to respect the time barriers here. So let's see here. Let me go over this. This was really done on YouTube when I last spoke here. But these are 4 of the things that you can do that I want to make sure to reiterate here. The first one, in order to connect more deeply with others, yourself and others, is to be open and present. To be open to life, to be open. Am I open or closed? Who am I going to be when I go to the coffee shop, when I go out to walk in the park, am I going to be open or closed? Am I going to be present, or am I going to be on my phone thinking about everybody else and ignoring everyone? I got to connect. I got to take the walls down and be open and present. Be curious versus critical. I wonder why they wear that. As an example, I wonder what made them possess them to wear that today. I'm just saying, but be curious. Curiosity keeps our heart open. Criticism shuts it down. Be understanding. The ego wants to be understood. It it doesn't give much time or attention to being understanding towards others who are in pain or different than you. To be understanding. To have humility, to be humble, just because the last 20 times you went to this coffee shop, nobody talked to you, this time it can be different. That's what humility is. Willing to let each moment be brand new. Just because in the past this has happened, I'm not going to project the past onto this current and shut down the situation. I'm going to be open to change. I'm going to be open to the flow. So that's another thing when you go out to engage with other people. Have you already decided in your mind exactly what's going to happen? If so, you're the creator of your reality. Self-fulfilling prophecy. So also imagine yourself, and the blueprint is in our imagination. Can you imagine yourself connecting with your community, talking to your neighbors, having friends call you, being invited to party? Can you imagine yourself expanding your social circle? Can you embrace that and feel the joy and the love of that? Not that it's perfect, but that it's yours. And to appreciate those that you do have, those connections you do have. Because as we get older, what I've discovered, unfortunately, is that this is going to keep increasing. People are going to transition. And that's a part of getting older. One day we all will transition. But did I let my life be a testament to my spirituality? Did I bring light into the hearts of strangers when I walk down the street? Did I see the beauty within others, or did I criticize it, shut down, and hold myself in my own personal hell? It's a choice. Isolation's in the mind. And when you can shift your mind and make a new choice, yes, it's vulnerable. Yes, it's scary sometimes. That's just the personality ego that wants to be loved and accepted and approved of. But it's not who you really are. You're so much more than just that. And give because it's fun to give. Well, what if they don't say hello back? That's their loss. That's fine. You did your part. Love never goes to waste. Did you know that? When you send love to somebody, even a stranger on the street, it goes into their auric frequency and vibration, and it waits for them to let it in. And it may not be right now, it may not be for 10 minutes, 20 years, but its energy can't be destroyed. And as you send love, you're doing your part. Whether they let it in or not is not your concern. But you can feel good about who you are as you share your light. All right. Any questions? Anyone? Questions? Concerns? Does this make sense? Are you all ready to kick me out of here? Jeff, yeah.
What you just said about, well, I'll just sum it up. I saw a great t-shirt this week. It said, you get the action, not the result.
Say that again? You get the action, not the result?
You get to do, you get to serve, you get to whatever, but don't expect...
Attach the result, yeah.
That's right. In fact, you could offer it up to some higher purpose. But I really appreciated that you started at the top with, if you want to feel connected, connect with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and
what does that really mean? You know, that's a big, broad thing. Connect with yourself. Mm-hmm. Well, our ego self, what does it want to do? It often wants to sabotage. It often wants to be safe. It often wants to protect. So know the voice. Another talk I did here 2 years ago was how to tame your monkey mind, and it's on the YouTube that you can listen to for free. But it's about hearing those voices and taming that monkey mind. And that's a good way to know thyself. Not that you got to perfect it or get rid of it or change it or destroy it. No, but know it. So that I can then take my power back and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I know where this leads.
I was thinking of actually self-inquiry also.
Yeah.
Who am I? You know.
Yeah.
And maybe shifting the figuring around our identity, you know.
Yeah.
Identify as soul and having a human experience rather than a human.
Having a spiritual experience.
Spirituality,
Yeah, and both are valid and equally important, like you were saying. It's bringing those worlds together, but it's also the part of me that makes me whole is my body, my actions, what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep doing the same old things, but my body, have a relationship with that. My emotions, what do I feel? I feel scared to go out and talk to somebody. Okay, well, let me move through that fear. Let me talk to a friend. Let me release it and get through it. Then my mind, am I being open, curious, rather than critical? Am I being loving? So, and then my soul and spirit. So the soul and spirit unifies with the mind. The mind is made up of your thinking body and your emotional body, and then your physical body. All of that is part of connecting with ourself. And the ego and the true self, the soul and spirit that is love. It is love. It's a deep love within you that has always been there. I brought, and I found this morning when I was getting ready. It's an old treatment. Remember Louise Hay? Anybody remember Louise Hay? This treatment, if I had to take about 3 minutes to say, but I'd love to do it because I read it this morning and I just thought, God, her book kind of fell in my lap. And I thought I should share this with today. So let me read this for you all. Just close your eyes for a moment. Deep at the center of my being, there's infinite well of love. I now allow this love to flow to the surface. It fills my heart, my body, my mind, my consciousness, my very being. And it radiates out from me in all directions and returns to me multiplied. The more love I feel and give, the more I have to give. The supply is endless. I'll never run out. The expression of love makes me feel good. It is the catalyst of my inner joy. I love myself, therefore I take loving care of my body. I lovingly feed it nourishing foods and beverages. I lovingly groom it and dress it, and my body responds to me with vibrant health and energy. I love myself, therefore I provide for myself a comfortable home, one that fills all my needs and is a pleasure to be in. I fill the rooms with the vibration of love so that all who enter, including myself, will feel this love and be nourished by it. I love myself, therefore I work at a job that I truly enjoy doing, one that uses my creative talents and abilities, working with and for people that I love and that love me, and earning a good income. I love myself, therefore I behave and think in a loving way to all people, for I know that which I give out returns to me multiplied. I love myself, therefore I forgive and totally release the past and all past experiences, and I am free. I love myself, therefore I live totally in the now, experiencing each moment as good and knowing that my future is bright and joyous and secure. For I am a beloved child of the universe, and the universe lovingly takes care of me now and forevermore. And so it is. So with that, any other further questions before we get ready to close? Yes, hi.
Hi, Michaiel. Yeah, that point you made at the end about love is never wasted.
Yeah.
It reminded me, I used to run in the park each morning, and I would, be running along, and I'd always encounter this one man, older man, and he would just have this smile and good morning, not weird static, good morning, hello. He was really embodying, this greeting. And it would often catch me off guard. So I would respond in kind. I'd be like, yeah, and run on. And then about 20 steps later, I'd have this smile, because it was sort of infectious.
Yeah.
But that was after I passed him. So he never got to see the result of his broadcasting. And I think that's often the case. We don't get to see the result of what we do. Somebody may look sour and glum and everything, and we open the door and they don't say thank you and whatever, but, maybe a few steps later or later in the day, they feel cared for or whatever.
Yeah. I love this.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. We don't, but that's the trap. We don't get to see the results. We're like, why bother,
Yeah, that's just our ego personality wanting to get their approval or validation. Look what I did to help you. It's like, you know what? I know that it feels good to love. And I did the same thing at first with the woman on the street. It was like, not with her, she was doing it with other people. But I would see, she wasn't just saying that to me. I'd see her say hello to everybody. But it was who she was, and I still remember her today. I don't know her name, but I think of her, and I just think, wow, she left a lasting impression. I don't know anything about her except the way she greeted me every morning. And that's all it takes, is a little act of love and kindness to shift the energy of our world that is so becoming more and more divided. Love, Love unites, fear separates. So how can I be an agent of change that is loving? And that's beautiful. I love it. It's a perfect example. And yeah, and a lot of times you do get it returned. You know, it's not like I have to suffer, never get any feedback. No, it's fun to get the feedback. But sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. Because you're not doing it to get their feedback. You're doing it because it's who you are. And it's the way you want to offer more love into your life and the life of the world around us. Any other questions? Yes.
You know, I've been working with Michaiel for about 6 months after I met him here. And when I'm traveling, and I've been traveling solo, some of these things that I've learned from him or been sensitized, it really makes it so much more interesting to be, you know, those chance encounters that you have when you're traveling, for example. They seem to just happen much more often. And there's almost a continuum of being open in the world. And I mean, even in San Francisco, like yesterday, I was out walking my dog, sat down on a bench in Dolores Park, and had this incredible conversation with this complete stranger that was, you know, those kind of things used to happen on and off, but more and more for me, it's just everyday occurrence of having these, you know, sort of magical conversations with people. And it's really sort of cool to just feel much more open. Yeah. And that's what I've learned from Michaiel and his input into my experience. So
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Yes.
Can I answer? You know, about this 6 months ago, you started working with Michaiel. Yeah.
I think about that maybe.
Yeah.
He came to my gay men's discussion group.
I noticed there was something different about him.
Oh.
On Facebook, he was like traveling places and talking about things, with beauty and, you know.
I swear I didn't pay for testimonials here. But thank you all, because it does, again, this is feedback, because a lot of times you don't hear feedback, you know. But when I work one-on-one with my hypnotherapy clients, I get feedback usually instantly. But with groups and things, but again, it's good to hear it, but it's not like I have to get it in order to continue my work. I know how it's changed my life. I know how it's changed my clients' and friends' life. So I just want to spread the word so that most people out there have the opportunity to think about it. As I said before, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. I think that's a Tony Robbins quote, by the way. It's not mine originally, but either way, it's a good quote.
Hey, one other thing that you talked about was not offering enough appreciation out of regret, like after the fact it's too late. And it reminded me, there was a talk here a couple weeks ago, just went up onto our website, from Dave Rico, about embracing impermanence through grief. Right? And so, because if we don't really accept and know impermanence, like everything goes away, then we don't appreciate it. You know, we run the risk of like waiting until it's too late. And so he said, when we're having grief in our life, that's how we know, we really come to know things are impermanent. All things go away. You know, and until we know that and accept it and walk through our daily life, knowing everything will fall away, everything will decline, our bodies included, then we're not going to appreciate what's happening.
I just want to add one thing. That's beautiful. Thank you. And I'm going to listen to that because, like I said, I've been going through a lot of grief myself. The one thing that doesn't fall away is love, because that's all that is. That's everything. Yeah, we get back to that foundation. That's the only permanent that exists, because that's all that is. So I hope you got some value from today. It's been a lot of fun. I'm not sure the next step and where we're at with time, but I think I feel pretty complete. Did anybody? Oh, you had a question, didn't you? Did you have a question?
A comment.
A comment, yes.
You were talking about that we are born into a community. And I don't feel like I was born into a community. I think I was born into chaos. And, you know, and I had no model for community or trust or any of that. And it's been a 45-year journey in
Yeah.
recovery. And I have come to experience life very much like you're talking about. But, so it was worth it. It's worth the effort. But without a model, I don't know if I was lucky or unlucky, but
Yeah.
I got into addiction and all kinds of
Sure.
things.
Sure.
But
One thing I want to
Today-
say about addiction I heard, which I think will be helpful.
can I just say something
Sure.
and then finish?
Okay, sorry.
Okay, thank you. And so what I'll say is that, you know, today, the people in my life, I just had my 75th birthday.
Congratulations.
And the people that were there were people that I have known maybe from 69, 76. Just people that, you know, are the people that saw me and I see them. And they are a community. And it's left my heart so open to see that and have been out in the world, and at the same time one of the people there is going to die soon in heart failure, kidney failure, exactly what you described. But what I know is that we cherish our time together. I have no doubt that I've said everything I need to say to him, and that he said everything, and I will see him before he goes on a physical trip for a month, and he may die there, but I will be having the last days here. I'll be with him.
Beautiful.
And I was an ICU nurse, and I saw a lot of death. I lived through the AIDS crisis. I was a dialysis nurse, and if I learned anything, it was, don't wait till you retire to do it. You know, and so today, I think the biggest gift we give each other is to see each other and to smile and to know that people feel invisible, and I can smile at them and say, how are you, and actually wait to hear. And sometimes they don't even know what to say, you know. And so
I'm
I
fine.
am blessed. I'm blessed, and I thank you for your talk and your share, especially about
welcome.
your friend that you that conversation.
You're here.
I wasn't planning on sharing that. It just was coming through, and I thought, yeah, that's something I think would be valuable. And thank you. Thank you. One of the things I had heard years ago, that addiction, the opposite of addiction is connection. I'd never heard that before. And think about it. What do the AA groups get together? To connect. And that's what creates more of a foundation for healing than anything else, I think. I don't know. I'm not that clear on that, but it just felt right when I heard it. So it's a different perspective. Not that it's that simple. It's not that simple, but it's an interesting part of feeling connected. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. This has been really lovely. Always enjoy being here.
So your website is michael.com. By the power and truth of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. May all never be separated from the sacred happiness which is without sorrow. And may all live in equanimity without too much attachment or too much aversion, believing in the equality of all that lives.
Namaste.
Thank you, Michael.